My child, stop scrolling for just a moment. Don't rush past this. Don't tell yourself you'll come back later. Don't let this become another message that slips through your hands while your heart continues carrying burdens it was never meant to carry alone. Pause. Take a breath. And listen carefully, because this is not an accident. You did not find these words by chance. You are not here because of luck, coincidence, or random timing. I brought you here. I arranged this moment long before you opened this video, long before you picked up your phone, long before your eyes landed on these words. And if you will give me just a few moments of your attention, I will show you why. My child, this is the moment you prayed for. Not necessarily with words, not necessarily on your knees, not necessarily in a church or during a perfect prayer, but deep inside your heart, you have been asking for something. You have been longing for reassurance. You have been searching for peace. You have been begging for clarity. You have been hoping for a sign that I still see you, still hear you, still care about what you are going through. And today, I am answering you, because I know how tired you have become. I know how many nights you lay awake thinking about problems you could not solve. I know how many mornings you woke up carrying the same worries that followed you to sleep. I know how many times you smiled in front of others while hiding battles nobody knew you were fighting. I know about the tears you never explained. I know about the disappointments you never talked about. I know about the fears you buried deep inside because you thought nobody would understand. But I understood. I saw every moment. I heard every silent prayer. I collected every tear, and I have not forgotten a single one. That is why I need you to stay with me right now. Because something is happening inside you. You can feel it, can't you? Something is pulling at your heart. Something is telling you not to leave. Something is whispering that these words are meant for you. That feeling is not your imagination. It is my presence reaching for you. For too long, you have carried the weight of tomorrow while trying to survive today. For too long, you have allowed fear to convince you that nothing will change. For too long, you have looked at closed doors and assumed the story was over. But hear me now. Your story is not over. Your prayers were not ignored. Your waiting season was not wasted. And the breakthrough you have been hoping for may be closer than you realize. That is why I stopped you today. That is why I interrupted your scrolling. That is why I stepped into this ordinary moment and made it extraordinary. Because I refuse to let you walk past the answer you have been praying for. So stay here. Stay for a little longer. Quiet the noise around you. Let your heart slow down. Let your spirit breathe. Because what I am about to tell you could change the way you see everything you have been going through. My child, this is not the end of your story. This is the beginning of something you have been praying for all along. My child, there is something I need you to know. I saw the moment you almost gave up. Not just once. Many times. I saw the moments nobody else noticed. The moments when your smile faded the second you were alone. The moments when the noise of the day finally disappeared and all that remained were your thoughts. The moments when you stared at the ceiling late at night wondering how much longer you could keep carrying everything. I saw those moments. I saw the exhaustion you hid from everyone else. I saw the weight sitting on your chest. I saw the questions running through your mind. Questions you were afraid to say out loud. Questions like, how much longer, Lord? Will things ever change? Did I miss my opportunity? Have you forgotten about me? My child, I heard every one of them. I know there were days when you felt strong, but I also know there were days when simply getting out of bed felt like a battle. Days when your body was present, but your heart was tired. Days when you kept moving forward only because you did not know what else to do. You carried responsibilities. You carried disappointments. You carried wounds that never fully healed. And while everyone around you saw someone who was managing, surviving, and functioning, I saw the deeper truth. I saw how close you were to breaking. I saw the burden you never shared. I saw the tears you refused to let fall. I saw the loneliness hidden behind your strength. There were moments when you wanted to quit trying, moments when you wanted to stop hoping, moments when disappointment felt safer than expectation. Because every time you allowed yourself to hope, it seemed like something went wrong. A door closed. A prayer remained unanswered. A relationship changed. A dream was delayed. And little by little your heart began protecting itself from future pain. You started expecting less. You started believing less. You started convincing yourself that maybe nothing good was coming. But even then, I was watching you. Even then, I was walking beside you. Even then, I was holding together parts of your life that you could not see. You thought you were hanging on by your own strength. You thought you were surviving because you had become tougher. You thought you were carrying yourself. But the truth is, my child, there were many days when I was carrying you. There were moments when you wanted to walk away from your dreams. Moments when you wanted to stop praying. Moments when you wanted to accept a smaller life simply because hoping for more hurt too much. I saw every one of those moments. I saw when fear whispered that nothing would ever change. I saw when disappointment told you to stop expecting miracles. I saw when exhaustion tried to convince you that your story would never get better. And I watched you fight battles nobody knew existed. Battles inside your thoughts. Battles inside your emotions. Battles inside your faith. Some days you won those battles. Some days you barely survived them. But through every single one, I remained beside you. You may not have felt me. You may not have heard me. You may not have recognized my presence. But I never left. Not once. Not for a moment. Not during your darkest night. Not during your most painful disappointment. Not during the seasons when heaven seemed silent. I was there. And you know what I saw? I saw someone stronger than they realized. I saw someone who kept going despite the pain. I saw someone who continued taking another step, even when they were tired of walking. I saw someone who still carried a small spark of faith even when everything around them suggested they should give up. That spark matters more than you know, because while you were focused on how exhausted you felt, I was focused on how faithful you remained. While you were looking at what had not happened yet, I was preparing what is coming next. While you were wondering if the story was ending, I was writing a new chapter. And that is why I stopped you today. Because you came closer to giving up than anyone realizes, closer than even you want to admit. But I would not allow your story to end in the middle of the process. I would not allow exhaustion to make your decisions. I would not allow disappointment to become your future. I saw the moment you almost gave up. And I am telling you now with all the love of heaven behind these words, do not give up now. Not when you are this close. Not when I am still working. Not when the answer is already moving toward your life. My child, one of the greatest struggles you have faced is trying to understand my silence. There were moments when you prayed with all your heart and heard nothing. Moments when you searched for answers and found only questions. Moments when you begged for direction, but the road ahead seemed covered in fog. And in those moments, you wondered where I was. You wondered if I had heard your prayer. You wondered if I cared. You wondered if perhaps I had moved on while you were still waiting. But listen to me carefully. My silence was never my absence. Just because you could not hear my voice does not mean I stopped speaking. Just because you could not see my hand does not mean I stopped working. Just because you could not understand the process does not mean I abandoned the plan. I was there the entire time. Closer than your next breath. Closer than your fears. Closer than the tears you cried when no one else was watching. The problem was never that I had left. The problem was that I was working in places you could not yet see. You wanted immediate answers. I was building lasting solutions. You wanted quick relief. I was preparing complete restoration. You wanted the pain to end. I was making sure the lesson remained. Because there are things I can only accomplish in seasons of waiting. There are parts of your character that can only be developed in silence. There are strengths that can only be discovered when you feel weak. There are levels of faith that can only grow when visible evidence is absent. You called it delay. I called it preparation. You called it abandonment. I called it protection. You called it silence. I called it construction. While you were wondering why nothing seemed to be happening, heaven was moving in ways your eyes could not see. Doors were being arranged. People were being positioned. Lessons were being learned. Timing was being aligned. And your future was being prepared. Do you remember Joseph? He had dreams from me. Yet after receiving those dreams, his life seemed to move backward instead of forward. He was betrayed, rejected, sold, forgotten, imprisoned. Year after year, it probably looked as though I was silent, but I was not absent. Every closed door was leading him toward the palace. Every disappointment was positioning him for purpose. Every delay was preparing him for destiny. And when the time was right, everything changed. Do you remember David? I chose him long before he sat on a throne. He was anointed as king while still tending sheep. But years passed before the promise became reality. Years of battles, years of waiting, years of uncertainty. There were seasons when it looked like nothing was happening, yet I was preparing a king while he thought he was simply surviving. My child, I was doing the same thing in your life. The silence was never empty. The waiting was never pointless. The delay was never wasted. Every season had a purpose. Every struggle carried a lesson. Every challenge was shaping something inside you. You have spent so much time looking at what has not happened that you have overlooked what has already changed. You are stronger than you were, wiser than you were, more compassionate than you were, more resilient than you were, more dependent on me than you were. The person listening to these words today is not the same person who entered the waiting season. You have been transformed by it, even when you could not see it, even when you did not appreciate it, even when you wished it would end. And there is something else you need to understand. Sometimes my silence protected you from receiving something too soon. You prayed for certain doors to open, but you were not ready yet. You asked for blessings that would have overwhelmed you in the condition you were in. You wanted answers before your heart was prepared to handle them. And because I love you, I refused to give you something at the wrong time. Not because I was withholding good from you, but because I was protecting good for you. A loving father does not simply give what is requested. A loving father gives what is best, at the right time, in the right way, for the right purpose. That is why you must stop measuring my presence by your circumstances. Do not assume I am gone because life feels difficult. Do not assume I am silent because the answer has not arrived. Do not assume I have forgotten you because the promise has taken longer than expected. I have never forgotten you. Not for one day, not for one moment, not for 1 second. Even in the seasons when heaven felt quiet, I was writing chapters you could not read yet. Even in the nights when you questioned everything, I was holding together pieces of your future. Even when you felt alone, I was walking beside you. And now, as you look back, you will begin to see what you could not see before. The silence was never my absence. It was the evidence that I was working in places beyond your vision, and what I have been preparing during this season is far greater than what you feared you had lost. My child, there is another reason your heart has felt so heavy. You have been carrying things I never asked you to carry. For so long, you have walked through life believing that everything depended on you. You felt responsible for fixing every problem, holding every relationship together, preventing every disappointment, controlling every outcome, protecting yourself from every possible failure, and little by little, the weight became too much. You were carrying burdens that were never designed for your shoulders. You were carrying tomorrow before tomorrow arrived. You were carrying fears that had not happened. You were carrying guilt from mistakes I had already forgiven. You were carrying expectations that I never placed on you. You were carrying the opinions of people who do not determine your worth. You were carrying wounds from the past as though they were meant to define your future, and all of it was draining the life from your spirit. I never asked you to carry all of that. I never asked you to be your own savior. I never asked you to have every answer. I never asked you to solve every problem before coming to me. Yet somewhere along the journey, you began believing that strength meant carrying everything alone. You thought being strong meant never breaking down, never asking for help, never admitting you were struggling, never letting anyone see your weakness. But that was never my definition of strength. True strength is trusting me with what you cannot carry. True strength is surrendering what was never yours to control. True strength is placing your burdens into my hands and believing that I am able to do what you cannot. My child, I know what has been keeping you awake. I know the fears that replay inside your mind. The fear of failure, the fear of rejection, the fear of not having enough, the fear of losing what you love, the fear that things may never improve, the fear that you are running out of time. You carry these thoughts everywhere you go. You carry them into your mornings, into your work, into your relationships, into your prayers, And because you carry them so constantly, they have begun to feel normal, but they were never meant to become your normal. I created you to walk in faith, not to live under constant pressure. I created you to trust, not to endlessly worry. I created you to bring your burdens to me, not to let them crush your spirit. Some of you listening right now are carrying guilt. You replay old mistakes over and over. You keep revisiting moments you wish you could change. You keep punishing yourself for things that happened years ago. You ask for forgiveness, but you never truly receive it. You believe I have forgiven you, yet you refuse to forgive yourself. My child, why are you carrying what I already nailed to the cross? Why are you dragging chains that I already broke? Why are you living under a sentence that I already removed? The past has become heavier because you refuse to set it down. And today I am asking you to release it. Not because it never mattered, but because it no longer owns you. Others are carrying the expectations of people. You are exhausted from trying to make everyone happy, trying to be enough for everyone, trying to meet standards that keep changing, trying to earn approval that never seems to come. You have spent years adjusting yourself to fit into places I never called you to fit. Years chasing validation from people whose opinions cannot determine your destiny, and now your soul is tired. Because approval is a burden you were never meant to carry. Your value was never meant to come from people. It comes from me. You do not have to earn what I freely give. You do not have to prove what I have already declared. You do not have to fight for an identity that I established before the foundation of the world. And some of you are carrying heartbreak. You carry memories, regrets, losses, conversations you wish had gone differently, relationships you wish had survived. You keep carrying pieces of yesterday into today. And because your hands are full of old pain, you struggle to receive new blessings. My child, let me tell you something that your heart desperately needs to hear. You cannot carry every burden and every blessing at the same time. Eventually, something must be released. That is why I brought you to this moment. Not to condemn you, not to shame you, but to free you. I want you to stop carrying responsibilities that belong to me. I want you to stop carrying fears that belong to tomorrow. I want you to stop carrying guilt that belongs to the past. I want you to stop carrying expectations that belong to other people. I want you to stop carrying battles that I have already promised to fight for you. Because the truth is this: the weight you feel is not coming from the future. It is coming from everything you refuse to put down. And if you will trust me today, if you will release what has been crushing your spirit, if you will finally surrender what you cannot control, you will discover something beautiful. You were never meant to carry the world. You were only meant to walk with me. And when you walk with me, the burden becomes lighter, the fear becomes smaller, and the road ahead becomes clearer. So let go, my child. Not because the battle is over, but because you do not have to fight it alone anymore. My child, there is something the enemy hoped you would never understand. The attack was proof of your purpose. The battle was evidence of your value. The resistance was a sign that something important was growing inside you. For so long, you have looked at your struggles and assumed they meant something was wrong. You looked at the opposition and thought I had abandoned you. You looked at the setbacks and wondered if you had missed my plan. You looked at the obstacles and questioned whether you were truly moving in the right direction. But what if the battle was never proof that you were failing? What if the battle was proof that you were moving closer to what I created you for? The enemy does not waste energy attacking what has no purpose. He does not invest effort into something that poses no threat. He attacks what he fears. He targets what carries potential. He fights what has the power to impact lives. And that is why some of your hardest battles arrived right before important seasons of growth. Think about it. Why did fear suddenly increase when you started moving forward? Why did doubt become louder when you began trusting me again? Why did opposition seem stronger when you started believing that your future could be different? Because darkness recognized something that you could not yet see. There is purpose attached to your life. There is calling attached to your life. There is influence attached to your life. There is blessing attached to your life. And the enemy wanted to convince you to quit before you ever reached it. That is why he attacked your confidence. That is why he attacked your peace. That is why he attacked your hope. That is why he attacked your faith. He knew that if he could not destroy your purpose, he would try to discourage you from pursuing it. My child, some of the attacks you experienced were never about the situation itself. They were about what the situation represented. The disappointment was not just about a closed door. The heartbreak was not just about a broken relationship. The delay was not just about waiting. The struggle was not just about surviving. The enemy was trying to convince you that your story was over before it truly began. He wanted you to settle, to shrink back, to stop believing, to stop expecting, to stop praying. Because a person without hope is easier to control than a person filled with faith. But look at yourself now. You are still here. You survived things that were supposed to break you. You endured seasons that should have destroyed your confidence. You walked through storms that seemed impossible. And yet you are still standing. Not because you are strong enough on your own, but because I have been sustaining you every step of the way. Do you remember David before he became king? The attack came before the crown. Do you remember Joseph before the palace? The prison came before the promotion. Do you remember Moses before the deliverance? The wilderness came before the miracle. Again and again throughout history, purpose was preceded by pressure. Calling was preceded by conflict. Breakthrough was preceded by battle. And your life is no different. What you are experiencing is not evidence that I have forgotten you. It may actually be evidence that you are closer than you think. The enemy saw possibilities in your future that you could not yet see. He saw healing. He saw growth. He saw restoration. He saw impact. He saw blessings with your name on them, and he became afraid. That is why the pressure intensified. That is why the doubts multiplied. That is why the attacks felt relentless. But hear me carefully. The attack does not determine the outcome. I do. The battle does not write the final chapter. I do. The storm does not decide your future. I do. And I have never lost control of your story. Not for 1 second. Every attack that was meant to weaken you has been strengthening you. Every challenge that was meant to discourage you has been teaching you. Every setback that was meant to stop you has been preparing you. The very things that seem to be working against you have been building qualities inside you that success alone could never produce. Patience, wisdom, compassion, perseverance, faith, trust. And one day you will look back and realize something extraordinary. The attack was never proof that you were cursed. It was proof that your life carried significance. The pressure was never proof that I abandoned you. It was proof that heaven was preparing you. The resistance was never proof that you should quit. It was proof that something valuable was ahead. So do not fear the battle. Do not let the struggle convince you that you are defeated. Do not allow the attack to define your identity. Because the enemy would not fight this hard if there were nothing worth fighting over. And the truth, my child, is that what I have prepared for you is greater than anything that has tried to stop you. The attack was real. The pain was real. The struggle was real. But your purpose is greater, and what is coming is greater still. My child, before we continue, I want you to pause for a moment. If these words have touched your heart, if you feel my presence speaking into your situation, if this message arrived at exactly the moment you needed it, don't keep it to yourself. Take a moment right now and write, God, stop me today. Let that be your declaration of faith. And if you are believing for a breakthrough, a healing, a restored relationship, financial provision, or a new beginning, write, I will not give up in the comments. Your words may encourage someone else who is fighting a battle they haven't told anyone about. Also, if this message is strengthening your faith, be sure to subscribe and become part of this growing family of believers. Remember, you are not alone in your journey. There are people around the world praying, believing, waiting, and trusting God just like you. Now take a deep breath, open your heart, and stay with me. Because what God wants to reveal next may be exactly what your soul needs to hear today. My child, after everything you have been through, I know it is difficult for you to believe that something good is approaching. You have waited so long. You have prayed so many prayers. You have faced so many disappointments that part of your heart has learned to protect itself from hope. You tell yourself not to expect too much, not to get excited too soon, not to believe until you see it, because you are afraid of being hurt again. I understand that fear. I know where it comes from. But today I need you to hear me clearly. Your breakthrough is closer than you think. closer than your eyes can see, closer than your circumstances suggest, closer than your doubts are willing to admit. You have spent so much time focusing on what is missing that you have overlooked the signs that something is changing. Look at yourself. You are not where you used to be. You have survived battles that once seemed impossible. You have made it through nights that felt endless. You have endured seasons that should have destroyed your faith, and yet you are still here. That alone is evidence that I have been working. Breakthrough does not begin the day the blessing arrives. It begins the moment I start changing you, and I have been changing you. Your perspective has been changing. Your priorities have been changing. Your heart has been changing. Even your prayers have been changing. You used to pray only for the situation to change. Now you are learning to trust me even while you wait. That is growth. That is preparation. That is breakthrough beginning beneath the surface. Many people expect breakthrough to arrive like lightning. Suddenly, instantly, without warning. But often, breakthrough arrives quietly before it becomes visible. It begins when fear loses its grip. It begins when faith grows stronger than doubt. It begins when peace appears in the middle of uncertainty. It begins when you stop measuring my faithfulness by your circumstances. And my child, some of those things are already happening inside you. You may not realize it, but there are signs all around you. The fact that you are still seeking me is a sign. The fact that you are still praying is a sign. The fact that you are still listening is a sign. The fact that you have not completely given up is a sign. Because the enemy tried to stop you. He tried to convince you that nothing would ever change. He tried to make you walk away from hope. Yet somehow you are still here. That is not weakness. That is evidence of my hand upon your life. There are things moving behind the scenes that you cannot see. Conversations are happening. Doors are being prepared. Opportunities are being arranged. People are being positioned. Circumstances are shifting. And while you are focused on the waiting, heaven is focused on the preparation. I know the waiting has been difficult. I know there were moments when you thought the answer would never come. Moments when you wondered if your season would ever change. Moments when you felt forgotten. But what feels delayed to you is not delayed to me. I see the entire picture. I see what is ahead. I see what needs to happen before the blessing arrives. And I know the exact moment when everything will come together. That is why I need you to keep trusting me. Not because the road is easy, not because every question has been answered, but because I am faithful. Just as the sunrise appears after the longest night, your breakthrough is moving toward you even now. Just as a seed grows beneath the soil long before anyone sees it, I have been working beneath the surface of your life. And when the time is right, what has been hidden will become visible. What has been delayed will be released. What has been prepared will be revealed. Do not mistake the waiting for inactivity. Do not mistake the silence for abandonment. Do not mistake the process for failure. Something is happening. Something is shifting. Something is being prepared. And one day, very soon, you will look back on this season and realize that while you thought nothing was happening, I was bringing your breakthrough closer with every passing day. So lift your head, my child. Take another step. Say another prayer. Trust me one more time. Because your breakthrough is not moving away from you. It is moving toward you, and it is closer than you think. My child, now that your breakthrough is drawing closer, there is something you must be careful of. Do not let fear talk you out of your miracle. Because whenever I begin moving powerfully in someone's life, fear often arrives and tries to speak louder than faith. Fear has one mission: to make you stop before you reach what I have prepared, to make you retreat when you should move forward, to make you doubt when you should trust, to make you surrender to anxiety instead of surrendering to me. And fear is persuasive. It knows exactly where to attack. It reminds you of past failures. It points to old disappointments. It whispers about everything that could go wrong. It takes yesterday's pain and tries to convince you it is tomorrow's destiny. You have heard those whispers before. What if it doesn't work out? What if you get hurt again? What if you fail again? What if nothing changes? What if you're hoping for something that will never happen? Fear loves those questions because fear survives on uncertainty. But my child, faith survives on trust. Fear says, what if it all falls apart? Faith says, what if God is already working? Fear says, stay where it's safe. Faith says, follow me where I lead. Fear says, Protect yourself. Faith says, trust me with your future. The reason fear feels so strong right now is because you are standing near a new season. The closer you get to a breakthrough, the louder fear often becomes. Not because fear is winning, but because fear is losing its influence over you. Think about the moments in your life when you were closest to something important. A new opportunity, a major decision, a life-changing step. Those moments were often accompanied by uncertainty. You felt nervous. You felt hesitant. You felt vulnerable. Yet when you moved forward despite the fear, you discovered growth waiting on the other side. The same is true now. The enemy cannot stop what I have planned, but he will try to convince you to stop yourself. He will try to make you overthink. He will try to make you hesitate. He will try to make you focus on every risk instead of every promise. He will try to make you trust your fears more than you trust my voice. That is why you must learn to recognize fear for what it is. Fear is not a prophet. Fear does not know your future. Fear does not determine your destiny. Fear does not have authority over your life. Only I do. And I am telling you today that your future is not being written by your worries. It is being guided by my hand. Some of you have delayed blessings because fear convinced you to stay in places I called you to leave. Some of you have postponed healing because fear convinced you that change was dangerous. Some of you have remained trapped in old patterns because fear told you that freedom was too risky. But I did not create you to live imprisoned by fear. I created you to walk by faith. Faith does not mean you have all the answers. Faith means you trust me even when you do not. Faith means taking the next step, even when you cannot see the entire staircase. Faith means believing that I am good even when circumstances are confusing. My child, I know you have been hurt before. I know disappointment left scars. I know betrayal made trust difficult. I know setbacks made you cautious. But do not allow old pain to steal new blessings. Do not allow yesterday's wounds to decide tomorrow's possibilities. Do not allow fear to become the loudest voice in your life. Listen to me instead. I am the voice that carried you through every storm. I am the voice that sustained you when you wanted to quit. I am the voice that remained when everything else seemed uncertain. And my voice is still speaking. My voice is still guiding. My voice is still calling you forward. There is a miracle with your name on it. There is healing with your name on it. There is restoration with your name on it. There is peace with your name on it. But fear wants you to walk away before you receive it. Do not listen. Do not surrender. Do not retreat. You have come too far. You have survived too much. You have prayed too long. You have waited too faithfully. Trust me now more than ever, because what lies ahead is greater than what lies behind. And while fear is loud, remember this truth. My voice is stronger. My promises are greater. My plans are higher. And your miracle is worth walking toward, even when fear tries to stand in the way. My child, after all the waiting, all the praying, all the tears, and all the lessons, I need you to hear this promise clearly. I am opening a door no one can shut. Not a door created by human effort. Not a door dependent on someone's approval. Not a door sustained by luck or coincidence, but a door established by my hand. And when I open a door, no force on earth can permanently close it. For too long you have been staring at doors that would not open. You knocked. You waited. You hoped, you prayed, and still those doors remained closed. Some of those closed doors confused you. Some hurt you deeply. Some made you question your worth. Some made you wonder if I was listening at all. But my child, many of those doors were never meant for you. You were grieving opportunities that would have distracted you from your purpose. You were chasing paths that would have led you away from my best. You were asking me to bless things that I knew would eventually break your heart. And because I love you, I said no. Not to punish you, not to disappoint you, but to protect you. You cried over doors that closed, while I was preparing a door that fit your destiny. You mourned what was lost while I was arranging what was coming. You focused on rejection while I was planning redirection. Now I want you to look back. Can you see it? Some of the things you once desperately wanted would not have brought you peace. Some relationships would have drained you. Some opportunities would have overwhelmed you. Some paths would have delayed your growth. At the time, you could not understand it. But now you are beginning to see that my wisdom was greater than your disappointment. And because you trusted me through the waiting, a new season is approaching. A season of opportunity. A season of restoration. A season of answered prayers. A season of divine alignment. I am opening doors that match the person you have become, not the person you used to be. The waiting changed you. The struggle strengthened you. The silence matured you. The battle refined you. You are not the same person who first entered this season. You have grown, and now you are ready for things that would have crushed you before. That is why the door is opening now, because timing matters. A blessing received too early can become a burden. A responsibility received too soon can become overwhelming. A door opened before preparation is complete can lead to frustration instead of fulfillment. But I know exactly when you are ready. I know exactly when the pieces are in place. I know exactly when the season is shifted, and my timing has never failed. Some of you are praying for financial breakthrough. Some are praying for healing. Some are praying for restoration in relationships. Some are praying for direction. Some are praying for peace. Some are praying for purpose. My child, I hear every one of those prayers. And while the answers may not always arrive in the form you expect, they will arrive in the way that serves your highest good. Do not become discouraged because the answer looks different than your imagination. Often my plans exceed your expectations. What I prepare is usually greater than what you requested. That is why I need you to stay open, stay faithful, stay expectant, because the door I am opening may not look exactly like the one you are knocking on. It may be better, it may be larger, it may lead somewhere you never considered, it may reveal blessings you never knew to ask for. And when it opens, you will understand why certain doors had to remain closed. You will understand why the delays happened. You will understand why the waiting mattered. You will understand why I refuse to let you settle for less. My child, stop measuring your future by your current circumstances. The closed doors behind you do not define the open doors ahead of you. The disappointments of yesterday do not determine the possibilities of tomorrow. Your story is still unfolding. Your purpose is still alive. Your breakthrough is still coming. And even now, while you are listening to these words, I am arranging things you cannot yet see. I am connecting people. I am creating opportunities. I am removing obstacles. I am making a way where you thought there was none. Trust me. Keep walking. Keep believing. Keep praying. Because the door I am opening is not dependent on human approval, earthly limitations, or impossible odds. It is established by my authority. And when I open a door, no one can shut it. Not fear, not doubt, not delay, not the enemy, not the mistakes of your past. What I have prepared for you will arrive in its appointed time. And when it does, you will know beyond any doubt that it was my hand that opened the way. My child, before we go any further, I want you to stop and look back for a moment. Not at your failures, not at your regrets, not at the doors that closed. Look at who you have become, because whether you realize it or not, you are not the same person you used to be. The person who entered this season is not the person listening to these words today. You have changed. You have grown. You have been transformed in ways that are difficult to see when you are living through them day by day. There was a time when certain challenges would have completely overwhelmed you. There was a time when certain disappointments would have shattered your confidence. There was a time when certain battles would have caused you to walk away from your faith. But look at you now. You are still standing. You are still believing. You are still seeking me. And that is evidence of growth. The pain changed you. The waiting changed you. The heartbreak changed you. The battles changed you. Not by destroying you, but by refining you. Like gold passing through fire, you emerged stronger than before. Not because the process was easy, but because I was with you in the process. There were lessons you could only learn through experience. Lessons about patience. Lessons about trust. Lessons about endurance. Lessons about surrender. Lessons about depending on me instead of depending solely on your own strength. At times you hated the process. At times you wanted it to end immediately. At times you questioned why it had to be so difficult. But now I want you to understand something. The purpose of the season was never just to change your circumstances. The purpose was to change you. Because the blessing I am bringing into your life requires a different version of you than the one who began this journey. A stronger version, a wiser version, a more mature version, a more trusting version, and that version is emerging now. You may still have questions, you may still have struggles, you may still be carrying some scars. But scars are not signs of defeat. They are evidence that you survived, evidence that you kept going, evidence that I brought you through what should have broken you. Do not underestimate how far you have come. Do not overlook the progress you have made. Do not dismiss the work I have been doing inside your heart. Growth is not always loud. Transformation is not always obvious. Sometimes it happens quietly, one day at a time, one lesson at a time, one act of faith at a time. And before you realize it, you have become someone stronger than you ever imagined. My child, I am proud of the person you are becoming. Not because you are perfect, not because you never struggled, not because you never doubted, but because you kept moving forward. You kept trusting. You kept getting back up. And now you stand at the edge of a new season carrying wisdom that only experience could teach. So stop looking at yourself through the lens of your past. Stop defining yourself by old mistakes. Stop seeing yourself as the person who first entered the storm. That person no longer exists. You are stronger now. You are wiser now. You are closer to me now. And the person who is about to step into the next chapter of life is not the same person who began this journey. You have been changed by grace. And that change is preparing you for everything I have planned next. My child, after everything we have talked about today, you now stand at a crossroads. Not a crossroads of circumstance, not a crossroads of opportunity, but a crossroads of faith. Because every breakthrough eventually leads to a decision. Every promise requires a response. Every new season asks a question. Will you trust me? This is your moment of decision. You can continue listening to fear, or you can listen to my voice. You can continue focusing on what went wrong, or you can begin expecting what I am about to make right. You can continue carrying yesterday, or you can step into tomorrow. The choice belongs to you. I will not force you. I will not push you. I will not drag you into your destiny. I will invite you. And today, I am inviting you to trust me again. Trust me with the unanswered questions. Trust me with the closed doors. Trust me with the delays. Trust me with the future you cannot yet see. I know trust is difficult when life has disappointed you. I know faith can feel risky when your heart has been wounded. I know hope can feel dangerous when you have waited a long time. But my child, do not allow the pain of your past to make decisions for your future. Your past is a chapter. It is not the entire story. The disappointments you experienced are real. The losses were real. The tears were real. But they are not the final word over your life. I am. And I am telling you today that your future is greater than your fear. Your purpose is greater than your struggle. Your calling is greater than your doubts. That is why this moment matters. Because what happens next depends on which voice you choose to follow. Will you follow fear, or will you follow faith? Will you remain where it feels comfortable, or will you trust me enough to take the next step? You do not need to have every answer. You do not need to see the entire path. You only need enough faith for the next step. And if you will take that step, I will guide the one after it. If you will trust me today, I will take care of tomorrow. If you will place your hand in mine, I will lead you where you cannot lead yourself. So right now, in this moment, make your decision. Choose faith over fear. Choose trust over doubt. Choose hope over discouragement. Choose to believe that I am still working. Because your story is not ending here. In many ways, it is only just beginning. And the decision you make today may become the turning point you thank me for one day in the future. My child, before this message comes to an end, I want to leave you with one final truth. One day, you will understand why you had to wait. Right now, there are things that do not make sense. Questions that remain unanswered. Delays that still feel painful. Doors that are still closed. Moments that continue to leave you wondering why the journey had to be so difficult. But one day, you will see what you cannot see today. You will look back and realize that the waiting was not empty. It was preparation. You will understand that the closed door protected you from the wrong path. You will understand that the delay positioned you for something better. You will understand that the struggle built strength that success alone could never have produced. You will understand that what felt like rejection was often redirection, and what felt like punishment was actually protection. There will come a day when the pieces finally fit together. A day when the confusion gives way to clarity. A day when you see how I was working through every setback, every disappointment, every unexpected turn. And when that day comes, you will not wish the story had been different, because you will see how every chapter led you exactly where you needed to be. My child, trust me with the parts you do not understand. Trust me with the timing. Trust me with the process. Trust me with the future. You do not need to carry all the answers. You only need to keep walking with me, step by step, day by day, prayer by prayer, because I have never lost sight of where I am leading you, not once. The road may have been longer than you expected. The season may have been harder than you imagined, but your journey has not been wasted. Every tear mattered, every prayer mattered, every act of faith mattered, and even now, I am still writing your story. So lift your eyes, take a deep breath, and keep moving forward, because one day you will look back on this season, not with regret, but with gratitude. You will see my hand in places you once saw only silence. You will see my purpose in places you once saw only pain, and you will understand that the waiting was never working against you. It was working for you all along. Heavenly Father, thank you for speaking to us today. Thank you for reminding us that we are not forgotten, abandoned, or alone. Even in the seasons of waiting, you have been with us every step of the way. Lord, for every person listening to this prayer, I ask that you fill their heart with peace. Replace fear with faith. Replace confusion with clarity. Replace discouragement with hope. Father, help us trust your timing when we cannot understand it. Help us believe your promises when circumstances seem uncertain. Give us strength to keep moving forward, even when the road feels difficult. Heal the wounds we have carried for too long. Restore the parts of our hearts that have grown tired from disappointment. Lift every burden that has become too heavy to bear. Lord, remind us that you are still working behind the scenes, even when we cannot see it. Teach us to walk by faith and not by fear. Teach us to trust your plans above our own understanding. We surrender our worries, our doubts, our struggles, and our future into your hands. We choose today to believe that you are leading us towards something greater than we can imagine. Thank you for your love, your mercy, and your faithfulness. In Jesus' mighty name we pray, Amen. Before you leave, my child, I want you to make a declaration of faith. Not tomorrow, not someday, right now. Type these words in the comments. I will not give up. God is working in my life. Let those words be more than a comment. Let them be a statement of faith. A declaration that fear will not have the final say. A declaration that your past will not define your future. A declaration that God's promises are greater than your present circumstances. Today, choose to believe that your waiting season has a purpose. Choose to believe that God has not forgotten you. Choose to believe that the doors he opens cannot be shut. Choose to believe that your breakthrough is closer than you think. And if this message encouraged your heart, take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who may need this reminder today. You never know whose faith might be restored because of one simple share. Remember this: you are loved, you are seen, you are not alone. God is still guiding you, God is still protecting you, God is still working behind the scenes, and your story is not over yet. The best chapter may still be ahead of you. Stay faithful, stay hopeful, stay close to God, and watch what he does next.